I was asking lots of you if you remembered where the remains of Richard III were found, and loads of you rose to the occasion. It was Sarah in Leeds, Catherine in Linden, Davy in Canterbury and Kent, Barnaby in London, and all of you told me it was Leicester. Now, why did I ask the question? Because I get to talk to someone who has a passion for a specialist subject. And the person I get to talk to today is a geneticist who played a major part in the discovery of the remains of Richard III.
It's been confirmed that the remains found under a car park in Leicester are those of King Richard III. Researchers from the city's university say tests on a 500-year-old skeleton dug up last year prove beyond reasonable doubt that it is the king who died at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485. Michael Ibsen is a direct descendant of Richard III, and it's his DNA that's helped identify the remains.
To be involved in the project at all was fascinating, and to be here speaking now at the conclusion and having discovered that we do indeed have Richard III is extraordinary.
Now, Turi King led the DNA analysis on the remains of Richard III, which were, of course, found under a car park. And Turi King is Professor of Public Engagement and Genetics at the University of Leicester and joins me now. Professor King, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Is that the highlight of your career so far? And you know what? You're allowed to say it's not, because I imagine you've had loads of brilliant discoveries.
Well, okay, so that has definitely had to be one of the biggest highlights in my research. But I mean, one of the things I'm working on at the moment is the BBC's DNA Family Secrets series, where I get to do things like reunite families using DNA. So I've had lots of really fun things I get to work on.
Okay. Well, so you've got a very, very cool job. How did it all come about? Because you didn't start analysing DNA, did you? You started out wanting to be an archaeologist.
I did. So I grew up in Canada, and I went on my first excavation in just outside of Vancouver, and it was actually a rescue excavation, and they were digging a golf course. And as they were doing this, they started bringing up all of these baskets, like intact baskets with fish bones in. So this had been, Indigenous Canadian site, and they were finding this village. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So I did archaeology, and then I came over here and I did archaeology and anthropology at Cambridge. And while I was there, I started learning about how you can use genetics with archaeology. So the big case was the Romanov case that I heard about. So this is the Romanov family, the Russian royal family, killed in the Bolshevik Revolution, 1917. Early 1990s, the remains are found, and they use kind of forensic techniques, but also DNA to be able to identify the remains. And I thought, I would love to do that. So when I was asking all my tutors at Cambridge...
Yeah, but you don't get to dig around when you're studying DNA.
No, I do get to dig around.
Okay, I sit corrected. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I came up here to the University of Leicester because Professor Sir Alec Jeffreys was here. He's the chap who invented DNA fingerprinting. So I got to, he was on my PhD panel. And when the Richard III project was starting, so this is way back in 2011, I get this email from Richard Buckley, who's the co-director of the University of Leicester Archaeological Services, saying, I understand you have this unusual background. Would you like to be involved in this project? It's looking for somebody who's quite famous, who's buried in downtown Leicester, but I can't tell you who it is, and don't worry, we'll never find him. It'll be half a day of your time. So I wrote back on, is this Richard III?
Oh. Okay,
yeah,
you knew.
And I knew, well, because my aunt had been very into Richard III, and she introduced him to me, taking me to the Bosworth battlefield when I first arrived in this country 30 years ago. So I was to advise on how to excavate under what's known as clean conditions, because one of the biggest things you worry about with ancient remains is, the DNA that's in ancient remains, if there's anything left. It's highly fragmented, it's quite damaged, and all you need to do is breathe on the remains, and you're putting your DNA all over it, so you start to contaminate it. So I got to help excavate, and it was all about, we have to excavate with, face masks and hairnets and the full CSI gear. So I do get to excavate from time to time, and that's a really fun part of it.
So what was the point you knew it was Richard III?
Okay, so the interesting thing was, so I was helping to excavate, and on the 4th of September, we'd start to kind of uncover his legs. And there was a film crew there, and film crews are lovely, but they do go, "Ooh, do you mind just doing that again? And could you do that? We want to get it from this angle."
They are annoying.
Aren't they? So we got to a certain point, and we thought, okay, we're not going to lift the skeleton today. we can't leave a skeleton exposed overnight in this site, so we're actually going to stop. And what will happen is Joe Appleby, our lovely osteologist, will do the kind of main uncovering the next day. And I went off to a forensics conference in Innsbruck. And I landed in Innsbruck, and I had been joking with Joe saying, this is going to be a 90-year-old friar who lived a nice long life and died in his bed. It's never going to be Richard. And so I text her going, how's our 90-year-old friar? And she texts back going, young Ishmael, scoliosis, hunchback. Well, she actually said, young Ishmael, hunchback, battle injuries. Because at the time he was in the ground. She couldn't tell that it was actually a sideways curve of the spine. So I think even at that point, we were going, okay, my goodness, he's in the right part of the church. This has got these various things. But of course, we have to do all of the analysis. Yeah. So I was literally working right up to the wire. So February 4th, 2013 was our press conference where I'd done the preliminary genetic results. And it was days before that I was kind of really like, okay, this really looks like it could be him based on, and you have to bring all of the strands of evidence together. So it's not just the genetics, it's, where is he, radiocarbon dates, he's got battle injuries, it's all the historical missing persons case thing. And that, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for a man who was age 32 when he died in battle, we know he was buried in this place, all this kind of thing, plus the genetic evidence. So yeah, it was February the 4th, 2013 was the really big date when we did the announcement, but I still hadn't finished all of the analysis by that point, and didn't actually publish the kind of the full analysis of the genetics and all of the statistics to prove that it was him. That didn't go out until December 2014. But in between there, we were pretty darn sure it was him.
So it's so interesting. So you've had that big discovery, but now you're working with people who are alive and well and have a curiosity about their past. And one of the things I would like to know is, does anyone ever regret finding out their DNA?
Of everyone that we have done, not at all. It has been, so one of the things that I say this, when we're filming DNA Family Secrets, the people who come to us, you can sense there's an incredible longing in them. Some of them, it's actually, I can feel it when I'm talking to them. And it's this huge longing. They've got a question, somebody who's adopted or somebody, who doesn't know who their father is or that sort of thing. And we do say at the outset, and this is something I know from stuff that I've done in the past, in that we don't know how it's going to go. And that is the really important thing about what we do actually on DNA Family Secrets. It's not all wrapped up with a nice little bow at the end. We follow these people who I think are incredibly brave to allow us, along this sort of journey that they go on, in that they may not get all the answers that they want. And that is how it works.
I was just going to say, because time is always against me on this programme, but I was going to say, I often ask my specialists, the people who are passionate about the jobs they do, about a dinner party fact. And I don't think you need to kind of sell yourself too much at a dinner party, because people will be interested if you say, I uncovered Richard III and I can tell you your whole history, your whole genetic history. But give me the thing you say, if you turned up to a dinner party and someone said, you do what? DNA? And their eyes are glazing and you go, okay, here.
I have to say the Richard III one really does it normally. I pretty much have to say that. And people get so interested. And I have to say, whenever I give a talk or anything, like the people who come up after me, family mysteries and stories and connections with history, people absolutely love it. And it taps into our sense of belonging, I think. So yeah, I have to say the Richard III one does tend to be the, if I have to.
That's how you're selling it.
It's one of those things where I'm always a bit shy about that.
And in 10 seconds, have you done your own DNA?
No.
There you go. That is the next project. Professor Turi King, it's been an absolute joy talking to you. Thank you so much for taking me through that amazing discovery. And good luck with the future work as well, Professor of Public Engagement and Genetics at the University of Leicester.